How's it going, guys? I hope you're having a great one out there today. I know I am. My name's Garrett, and if you're new to the channel, I shoot reviews and tutorials on gear that I use every single day. And I've got a fun one for us today because the good people over at Canon USA were kind enough to send me this little guy right here to review for y'all. This is the Canon RF 35mm 1.8 IS STM. That's a mouthful to try to say. Macro lens, which is pretty cool. So yeah, gonna review that for you today. Now I will say this, Canon is not paying me to say anything nice about this lens, but I think what you'll find by the end of this video is that I believe it's a sweet little shooter for a lot of people. So I'm actually gonna switch to the 35 so you guys can see the look of it for the rest of the video. I also have some sample videos that I'm gonna put up as well. But let me switch over to the 35 really quick. All right, so we're on the 35mm now, and I did not change anything. My tripod's in the same place. I tried to frame myself the same way as I had with the 18mm. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the look of the 35 right now. But let's talk specs really quick. So obviously it's a 35mm focal length. It is a non-L series lens, which is okay because that means that the price stays pretty low for most of us guys who don't want to buy all the RF L glass right now. It is a macro lens, which I find very neat, especially considering it's a 35mm. Most macro lenses are a little bit longer than 35, but it has a close focusing distance, and that focusing distance is actually about 6 inches. It has a 52mm thread for your filters, and guys, get this little lens is actually stabilized, which is another thing that's really cool for a prime. I don't know of really any primes that I've ever used that are stabilized, so to have a 35mm that's stabilized is really cool. So we have some pros and cons that we're going to talk about. This is nothing scientific, no in-depth review, but I am going to flash some videos across the screen as I'm talking. I'm going to play some video at the end as well so you can see some examples of me using this lens. Pro number one is the price of this lens is $500 brand spanking new. Now I have actually seen them used online for as little as $400. So $400 for a nice lens I believe is a great price, especially when it comes to the RF mount system. Second pro, this thing is lightweight. It actually feels like my Fuji gear, and that's one thing that actually drew me to Fuji to start with, was the fact that it was lightweight. Canon did great with this lens as far as keeping it light because it makes it a small package on the R, which is a little bit bigger camera than my X-T3 that I shoot with. Pro number three is it's compact. That goes along with the lightweightness. And it's sharp. This lens is actually surprisingly sharp despite the fact that it's not an L series lens. Now I will say this, it's not going to be super sharp from edge to edge at 1.8, but there's not a lot of 1.8 lenses that are. I found that the sweet spot on this lens really is about 2.8 to f4 from my test and from the stuff that I was shooting with it. I shot a product shoot for a clothing company this week, also shot some video with it, and like I said, about 2.8 to 4 I believe is the sweet spot. And the last pro is the autofocus. I believe that the autofocus tracks fairly smoothly. It's a little bit slower at times, but that's okay. You get a smooth rack for the most part. And I only found two cons with this lens really, and it could just be this lens from the factory. I'm not sure if all of the RF 35s are this way, but while I was on my product shoot this week, it did do some hunting. Now I did say that the autofocus was smooth, and it is smooth when it's tracking, but there were situations where I guess I was shooting a little too dark, or maybe there wasn't enough contrast in the scene for it to rack focus correctly. So it did some hunting with my subject there for a little while. And the other thing too is it's noisy when it's autofocusing. So yes, the autofocus is smooth when it's working, but it does hunt sometimes, and it's a noisy little focus one too. So if you have a mic on the front of your camera and you're shooting video with autofocus, keep that in mind. It's gonna be a little bit noisier. So I've actually got an example of a small commercial that I shot this week, and I want you guys to see this was shot only on the 35mm, and then we'll come back and I'll give my final thoughts. I want to know in the comments below what you guys thought about the 35mm. How did it look in that video? And I also want to give my final thoughts really quick. I believe that this lens is a great first lens to buy with an EOS-R, minus all the EF glass that you may or may not already have. I think it's a great introduction into the RF line. Like I said, it's sharp at about 2.8 to 4. It's very affordable at $400 used, $500 US brand spanking new. It's not going to break your bank. And it's compact. It's not gonna break your back. So that's one thing that I really enjoy about this lens. I had a great time shooting with this lens. Canon, thank you again for sending this out to me. And guys, as always, if you like this video, want to see more just like it, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to as well. I greatly appreciate growing this community here on YouTube. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see you in the next.